Alright everyone, it's time for another battery comparison, and this time around we have the OnePlus 11, Samsung Galaxy S23, iPhone 14, Google Pixel 7, and the iPhone 14 Pro all the way at the end. Now this is going to be as complex as it can be for me because we have a bunch of different phones. Now these are some of the latest phones that have came out. I've been already running the test for about 1 minute and 46 seconds. Now the way this test works is I let all these phones on their max brightness, so they are all max brightness out. They all have all the apps clear in the background except for a video playing. And what we're going to do is for the next hour or two, we're just going to let these phones kind of just die out. So basically they're just going to be on their main display. And I'm going to check back in, make sure none of the screens time out, and make sure none of them kind of flow out unnecessarily. I'm going to play Temple Run 2, maybe some other games here and there after a little bit of time. But whatever I do on one phone, I'm going to do on the other. So we're just going to let them out on max brightness, sit here for an hour or two and see where they're at. I'll check back in every hour. Now, one thing I want to state, my assumption is, I think the iPhone 14 might be the one that lasts the longest. I've done a few different comparisons, but I haven't tested the OnePlus 11 yet, so there's a chance this phone may actually do pretty well. But we'll check back in about another hour, and we'll basically see where we're at. Alright everyone, we are at the 2 hour and 3 minute mark. I forgot to check back in an hour ago. But here's the crazy thing. These phones have only been playing this video in the background with the screen on max brightness for 2 hours. That's all they've done. And we are at very different times. So the OnePlus 11 is at 65%. The Samsung Galaxy S23 is at 88%. The iPhone 14 is at 81%. The Pixel 7 is at 85%. And the iPhone 14 Pro at the end is at 78%. So as of right now, the OnePlus 11, which I thought was going to do the best, is now kind of doing the worst. The Galaxy S23 is looking like it's doing the best. The Pixel 7, surprisingly, is doing a little bit better than I thought at 85% versus the iPhone 14 Pro 78%. So typically how it's going is the Galaxy S23 is number 1, Pixel 7 is number 2, iPhone 14 number 3, 14 Pro is number 4, and then the OnePlus 11 is number 5. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and load up Temple Run 2. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Keep the video in the background, but I'm going to let these phones kind of die out from there, and we're going to check back in. I think the OnePlus 11 is going to be the first one to die, but it's very crazy that we're already getting some differences. So we'll check back in about another hour and see where we're at. Well, everyone, we are now at the 3-hour mark, and there are some things that are changed. So all I did was just play Temple Run 2 in the background of all these. So if I go and hop out of all these right now, we will see the battery lives that we are at, which they are fluctuating quite a bit, but that's totally okay. So on the OnePlus 11 all the way over here, we are at 52% battery life. So not as bad as I thought, but it still did go down quite a bit compared to what we were just at. The Galaxy S23 is at 74%. The iPhone 14 is at 70%, so it's still a little bit less than this, but actually higher than the OnePlus 11 still. The Pixel 7 is at 73%, so still higher than the Pixel 7, and the iPhone 14 Pro all the way at the end is at roughly 66%. So with that being said, the Galaxy S23 is actually doing the best, followed by the Pixel 7, which is kind of tied with it, the iPhone 14 in 3rd place, the iPhone 14 Pro in 4th place, and the OnePlus 11 all the way in last place. So I'm going to go play Temple Run 2 again in the background for another hour, and I guess we're going to see what happens in another hour. Alright everyone, some craziness is going on. I forgot to check back in for the last 3 hours, which is pretty crazy. Now from 3 hours to 4 hours, I pretty much just played Temple Run 2. I think I pretty much showed that in the camera. The OnePlus 11 actually ended up dying though. Basically after the 4-hour mark, I just went back to being on their home screens because I saw that the OnePlus 11 was dying really fast on Temple Run 2. So I wanted to go and just kind of let them die out a little bit more evenly. This one ended up dying anyway on 5 hours and 34 minutes, which is pretty wild. However, when you look at the other numbers, it just goes to show how much more optimized those other phones are compared to the OnePlus 11. So the Samsung Galaxy S23 right now is at 48%. The iPhone 14 is at 37%. The Pixel 7 is at 43% all the way over here. And then the iPhone 14 Pro all the way at the end is at 31%. So right now the Galaxy S23 is doing the best. The Pixel 7 doing in 2nd place. The iPhone 14 in 3rd place, and the iPhone 14 Pro all the way at the end, basically in last place. So we'll check back in about another hour. I'm basically just going to leave them on their home screens again until they die out. It seems like Temple Run 2 is not optimized on all of these phones, which is pretty crazy. So we'll check back in another hour, basically see where we're at. So it's been another hour, and you can see that we are still at sporadic different battery lives. The OnePlus 11 has been dead for about an hour and a half now, which is still pretty wild. The Samsung Galaxy S23 right now is at 41%. The iPhone 14 is at 26%. The Pixel 7 over here is at 34%. And the iPhone 14 Pro all the way at the end is at 19%. Now I'm going to go ahead and load up Temple Run 2 again. I'm pretty sure now the Galaxy S23 is going to be the one that's going to be at the highest battery life. But like I mentioned and like we saw yesterday, the Galaxy S23 died well before the iPhone 14, which is actually pretty wild that now we're getting like opposite type of battery lives where the iPhone 14 is now dying ahead of the S23. Could be because of some optimizations and updates or something. I'm not too sure. The S23 did get an update, so maybe that's what fixed it. So I'll go and load up Temple Run 2. All of these die out. I think the iPhone 14 Pro is about to die probably in the next hour. So we'll check back in and kind of see what's going on from there. Okay, so it's been about another hour. And pretty much we've just been playing Temple Run 2 in the background. So if we go and hop out of all these applications, the S23 is doing a lot better than I originally thought. So the S23 right now is at 24%. And again, we are at 8 hours in of Temple Run 2 gameplay in the background, a video playing, and then on all basically max brightness. The iPhone 14 is at 14%. The Pixel 7 is at 19%. And the iPhone 14 Pro is at 8%. So right now, as of where we are as of this point, the Galaxy S23 is the highest. The Pixel 7 is second. iPhone 14 is in third. And the iPhone 14 Pro is in fourth. And then obviously the OnePlus 11 is pretty much in last place. So I pretty much just leave them on their main display right now for about another hour. We'll check back in. I'm pretty sure the iPhone 14 Pro will be dead or pretty much close to dying. And I think around that 10-hour mark, the iPhone 14 will die. And then pretty much the S22 and Pixel 7 will be at the very top. So we'll check back in and see what happens. All right, everyone, we are at the 9-hour mark, and the iPhone 14 Pro actually just ended up dying in the 8-hour and 45-minute mark. It's about 15 minutes ago, but you have to remember the OnePlus 11 here died at 5 hours and 34 minutes. So it has been a very long time since the OnePlus 11 died. So the iPhone 14 Pro, even though it did die before these three phones, it still outlasted the OnePlus 11 by quite a bit. Now, if I go and zoom in here, the Samsung Galaxy S23 is at 13%. The iPhone 14 is at 5%, and the Google Pixel 7 all the way at the end is at 8%. So the craziest thing still is that the Pixel 7 is doing fairly well, to be honest. The iPhone 14 is doing worse than these three, but it did outbeat the OnePlus 11 and the iPhone 14 Pro. So I'm going to just leave them on this main display probably for the next hour, and we'll check back in. I'm pretty sure at the 10-hour mark, we're pretty much going to have our answer. The iPhone 14 is going to die. Now it's at 4%. The Galaxy S23 will probably outlast these three other phones. So we'll check back in an hour and we'll basically see where we're at. Well, everyone, we made it to the end of the comparison. The Google Pixel 7 and the Galaxy S23 actually ended up dying almost exactly the same time, which is very weird because this phone was 5 or 4%, above the Pixel 7, but the Pixel 7 stuck at 1% for quite a bit of time. So what do we learn here? Well, we learned the OnePlus 11 really isn't doing that great in battery life. It'll probably get better optimized throughout time, but so far it wasn't really doing too well. The iPhone 14 and 14 Pro, the 14 is still doing better than the 14 Pro, but those did pretty decently well, on top of it. The Galaxy S23 today did much better than it did yesterday on the other comparison, so I'm really surprised how good of a job the Samsung Galaxy S23 did today. The Pixel 7 right behind it in this specific example, which is pretty wild. So I guess that kind of covers this one up. I'll definitely tell you if you're getting something like a Galaxy S23, it's going to be better in the battery life department, but I'm just so surprised it did so much better today. I mean, yesterday was not doing well at all. It died at like 6 hours. So this time around, it did do much better today, which is always good to see. So in terms of that kind of covers this one up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.